Canadians are quietly stepping back, and trust me, some US states are feeling the pain way more than you'd imagine. This isn't about luxury hotels or five-star resorts shutting down. We're talking real, everyday places, mom-and-pop diners, snowbird rentals, gas pumps, local grocery stores, even the neighborhood thrift shop. Suddenly, they're empty. Cash flow? Bleeding. Ever wondered why Florida's dollar stores seem quieter this summer? Or why motels in Minnesota are slashing prices like it's Black Friday in 2025? It's not just a travel trend, it's a full-on Canadian tourism pullback, and it's hitting local communities hard. While the big news outlets are focused on airports and airlines, we're digging into the small-town reality. So, which US states are taking the biggest hit? Stick around, you'll be surprised. Number 10, Minnesota. So, why are those lakefront cabins suddenly wide open on weekends? Why are diners in border towns like International Falls cutting back their hours, right in the middle of peak summer 2025? It's not just a slowdown, it's a full-on standstill. Canada's tourism boycott didn't knock politely at Minnesota's door. It stormed in, sat down at every booth, and didn't order a thing. Border crossings are down a jaw-dropping 28% this year. And no, that's not just some stat buried in a report. That's empty motel rooms, quiet bait shops, and diner counters with no morning coffee crowd. Towns like Warroad and Baudette, once buzzing with Canadian day trippers looking for cheap gas and weekend groceries, are now eerily silent. And the ripple effects? Oh, they're very real. Gas stations near the border are reporting double-digit drops in weekly sales. RV parks? Half full. Grocery stores? Watching food expire right on the shelves. Shocking? It gets deeper. Here's what most analysts completely miss. Minnesota doesn't just border Canada. It's intertwined with Canadian life. For many families up north, Minnesota is the backyard, where they go for fishing trips, Walmart hauls, and summer cabin escapes. But in 2025, that steady flow has all but dried up. One resort near Lake of the Woods revealed their usual July bookings from Manitoba were down more than 60%. That's not just a dip, it's a full stop. And this pain isn't isolated to tiny tourist towns. Cities like Bemidji and Rizzo, once overflowing with Canadian weekenders, are now seeing locals lose hours, seasonal workers scrambling, and some even turning to government aid just to make ends meet. Even Minnesota's own Department of Employment and Economic Development has admitted it. The Canada effect is hitting way harder than anyone predicted. So while everyone's busy talking about Vegas or Florida, the real bruises? They're showing up in places like Cabedogama, where the only sound louder than the loons echoing over the lake is the silence of cash registers refusing to ring. This boycott? It's not just a border story. It's a gut punch to entire communities that never imagined they'd have to survive without their Canadian neighbors. Number 9, Michigan. Something's off in Mackinac City. Family-run motels are slashing their prices, and those cozy lakeside diners near the border? They're now shutting their doors 2 days a week just to stay afloat. So, what's going on? Turns out, border crossings from Canada into Michigan have plunged by 35% in early 2025, even worse than anyone predicted. And that drop isn't just about fewer cars, it's about fewer Canadian snowbirds stopping to gas up, skipping those famous roadside pies, and passing by corner stores without grabbing their usual snacks. But wait, it doesn't stop there. Events in Windsor that used to overflow into Detroit with cross-border tourists? Poof. Gone. Even ferry traffic across the Great Lakes has slowed to a crawl. At truck stops near Port Huron, they've seen a 17% dip in Canadian traffic this spring alone. Gas station attendants say their regulars from across the bridge just stopped coming. And here's the thing. This isn't just a blip on the radar. With small businesses already stretched thin from inflation, this sudden drop in Canadian foot traffic is more than noticeable. It's painful. While bigger cities might be able to lean on local spending to stay steady, small-town Michigan? They're watching their Canada-reliant economies unravel, one canceled cabin reservation at a time. Number 8. Texas. Here's a head-scratcher. Why are Hill Country wineries seeing half-empty tasting rooms in May? And why did a buzzing barbecue joint outside San Antonio suddenly cut its hours, right before peak travel season? The answer isn't inflation. It's not local demand either. It's something most people haven't even noticed yet: Canada's silent freeze-out. In 2025, Canadian travel to Texas dropped like a rock, down an estimated 30%. And trust me, the impact is more visible than you'd think. Normally, Texas welcomes over 582,000 Canadian visitors every year. We're talking RV travelers rolling down I-35 and I-10, booking extended stays, loading up on supplies at roadside stops, and breathing life into small towns. Now, RV parks sit half-empty. Breakfast joints in Fredericksburg are short-staffed. Even Walmart supercenters in Corpus Christi are scratching their heads, wondering where all their snowbird regulars have gone. And it doesn't stop with just vacationers. Canada used to send retirees, long-haul drivers, and weekend road trippers deep into everyday Texas, places like Laredo, Amarillo, even the Gulf Coast. These folks weren't splurging on five-star resorts. They were fueling the real economy, filling up at gas stations, hitting up laundromats, grabbing groceries, even swinging by the local mechanic. But with border travel from Canada sharply down in 2025, that steady stream dried up. One gas station manager in Brownsville summed it up perfectly. It's like we lost our regulars overnight. Even medical tourism, a lesser-known but growing industry, is feeling the pinch. Canadian seniors used to cross the border for affordable dental care and vision checks. But now, clinics in El Paso and McAllen are reporting cancellation rates up by 40%. Staff are being reassigned or let go. It's that serious. And don't think the hit stops there. Retail centers near Houston and Dallas, especially those tailored to Canadian expats, are seeing lighter foot traffic and fewer return customers. Even Tex-Mex spots in South Padre Island, which used to thrive during the Canadian season, are feeling the pressure. Bottom line? This isn't just a dip in travel. It's a full-blown disruption to Texas's economic rhythm. From boot shops in Fort Worth to RV campgrounds outside Austin, the Canadian boycott of 2025 has left a very real dent. And if those Ontario and Alberta license plates don't start rolling back in soon, some small-town businesses might not make it to 2026. Number 7. Nevada. Vegas buffets? Quieter than usual. Souvenir shops along the Strip? Fully stocked, and barely moving merch. But here's the twist most people don't see coming. Canadian visitors to Nevada dropped nearly 20% in just the first half of 2025. Now you might think, okay, what's the big deal? Just a few less tourists, right? Wrong. Before the boycott, Canada was sending over 1.4 million visitors to Nevada every year. And no, they weren't just there for blackjack and poker tables. These travelers filled budget hotels, flooded outlet malls, and happily dropped $12 on oversized slushies under the 110-degree sun. This year? It's a different story. Hotel occupancy in hot zones like Paradise fell 14% in June alone, and the folks feeling it the most? Tip-based workers, valets, cleaners, waitstaff, whose paychecks have taken a brutal hit. But hold on, it gets worse. Rental car companies are now throwing out massive discounts just to get vehicles off the lot. Why? Because when that reliable wave of Canadian fun seekers dries up, the Strip might still glow, but the economic engine powering it? It starts to sputter. So yes, the slot machines are still spinning and the lights are still flashing. But behind the scenes, Vegas is starting to feel the Canadian silence, and it's echoing louder than you'd expect. Number 6. Oregon. Remember when snowbirds used to pour into Oregon's north coast by spring? Now, motel parking lots in towns like Seaside and Astoria are sitting half empty, even on what should be peak tourist weekends. Gas station managers are reporting fewer cars with those familiar British Columbia plates, and seafood diners that once had 45-minute Saturday wait times? Now you can walk right in, no reservation needed. In 2025, Canadian tourism spending in Oregon is projected to drop nearly 19%, and it's Oregon's small coastal communities that are feeling the sting the most. This isn't just Portland missing out on a few hotel nights. This is corner coffee shops in Newport losing their regulars. Campgrounds near Crater Lake sitting quiet, no out-of-country RVs in sight. Main Street souvenir shops that once thrived on Canadian foot traffic? Now they're drowning in unsold stock. Sounds bad already? It goes deeper. Here's what most reports miss. Oregon's tourism economy is built on drive-in Canadian travel, not fancy flights or tour buses. These aren't quick stopovers. Canadians hit the scenic byways, drive down from Western Canada, and spend a week or more hopping between Oregon's coastal towns, forest trails, and outlet malls. But in 2025, that entire rhythm has collapsed. One RV park owner in Florence put it bluntly. Canadian traffic is down 60% this summer. It's the worst season since the wildfires. That drop-off means fewer propane refills, fewer firewood bundles sold, and fewer grocery trips at those beloved mom-and-pop stores. Even Oregon's tax-free shopping, once a huge magnet for cross-border bargain hunters, is taking a hit. Retailers near the border, who used to rely on Canadians for up to a third of their out-of-state sales, are now pushing aggressive markdowns just to move inventory. From boutiques in Woodburn to bait shops in Tillamook, and food trucks in Brookings, they're all feeling it. Here's the hard truth. Oregon isn't just seeing fewer visitors. It's watching an entire seasonal economy go quiet. And unless that steady stream of Canadian travelers picks back up soon, it won't just be slower summers. It'll be locals paying the price, one shuttered business at a time. Number 5. California. Why are beachfront motels along Highway 1 offering 2-for-1 deals in July? And why are Santa Monica gift shops overflowing with unsold I Red Heart California hoodies? Sounds odd for a state that thrives on nonstop tourism, right? But here we are, and the numbers don't lie. In just the first 5 months of 2025, Canadian travel to California dropped by 12%, and that dip is hitting way more than just hotels or major attractions. Sure, Disneyland still has its crowds, but it's the local businesses feeling the pinch. Taco stands, laundromats, vape shops, and corner cafes near LAX. The everyday economy that thrives on steady Canadian foot traffic. Canada usually brings in over $3.7 billion in tourism money to California every year. This year, big chunks of that have vanished. But here's the part most headlines miss. It's not just the big cities like LA or San Francisco feeling it, it's the smaller, quieter gems that are hurting most. Think Napa, Palm Springs, San Luis Obispo, places that rely on older Canadians escaping winter for wine tastings, RV park stays, and long Airbnb rentals. One Airbnb host in Temecula admitted Canadian bookings are down 70%. 70. RV rental fleets across the state? Sitting idle. And that ripple effect hits everyone. Diners, fueling stations, even hardware stores where snowbirds normally stock up for extended stays. Still think it's minor? Outlet malls in Gilroy and Camarillo are reporting double-digit sales drops, with many retailers directly blaming the loss of Canadian credit card swipes. Even LAX, one of the world's busiest airports, has felt it. Canadian arrivals have dropped so noticeably that WestJet actually scaled back its summer flight schedule. And it's not just the data, it's the vibe. Southern California beach towns, usually swarming with Canadians every spring and summer? Now they're noticeably calmer. Surf instructors say sign-ups are down. Scooter rentals are sitting untouched. It's not loud, but it's undeniable. California might seem unstoppable from the outside, but the Canadian boycott is quietly poking holes in the state's economic lifeboat. And unless things turn around soon, that slow, steady bleed could become a full-on flood by the end of 2025. Number 4. New York. You won't hear much about this from mainstream media, but upstate New York is hurting. Gas stations near Plattsburgh are cutting back their hours. Grocery stores in Niagara Falls are ordering less fresh produce. And downtown Buffalo's souvenir shops? Struggling to move merchandise, even on weekends. This isn't a coincidence. It's the direct fallout from a major shift in 2025. Canadians simply stopped coming. Land border entries into upstate New York are down 21% year-over-year, with some key crossings like Champlain dropping as much as 26%. Sure, New York City still draws in global tourists. But it's not NYC we're talking about. It's rural, small-town New York, the places that rely daily on Canadian foot traffic for everything from grocery runs to weekend getaways. And here's what tourism brochures won't tell you. This goes way deeper than sightseeing. Border towns like Ogdensburg, Messina, and Watertown, they've built their entire microeconomies around Canadians crossing over for cheaper gas, groceries, fast food, and pharmacy runs. In 2025, that cross-border rhythm has completely vanished. One convenience store owner near Alexandria Bay put it bluntly. We've lost 40% of our weekend business since March. And the impact doesn't stop at lost sales. It means fewer jobs, cut hours for part-timers, and seasonal hires disappearing. Even community centers and small-town projects, which used to be partially funded by tax revenue from cross-border spending, postponed or scrapped altogether. It's not just retail either. Outlet malls near Syracuse and Albany, once magnets for Canadian bargain hunters, are now reporting double-digit revenue drops. Even car dealerships, yes, car dealerships, along the border say their Canadian bulk buyers are almost non-existent this year. And here's what most analysts totally miss. Upstate New York and southern Canada aren't just neighbors, they're partners. Economically, culturally, socially. This isn't just a travel pause. It's like cutting off a limb and expecting to walk normally. From family diners near Lake George to gas-and-go stations in Malone, New York's northern corridor isn't just losing tourist dollars, it's losing its lifeblood. And if this trend keeps up through the holiday season, many of these businesses won't be asking when Canadians are coming back. They'll be asking how they're supposed to survive without them. Number 3. Washington. Gas stations in Blaine used to count on that steady weekend parade of BC license plates rolling in like clockwork. Not anymore. Now, attendants are clocking out early, and shifts are being cut. In Bellingham, grocery stores once packed their shelves, knowing Canadians would sweep in to stock up on everything from cereal to cosmetics. But in 2025, that wave just disappeared. Nearly 22% of the usual cross-border traffic. Gone. Surprising, right? But it goes far beyond shopping carts. In some northern Washington towns, Canadians made up over half the retail activity. These weren't just casual tourists, they were regulars. They crossed the border for gas, cheaper goods, and yes, even prescription meds. They were part of the weekly routine. Now, border crossings like Peace Arch and Summers feel like ghost towns. Main Street merchants? In full panic mode. Shops that used to stay open late for Canadian customers are now cutting hours, or closing altogether. Even the real estate market isn't safe. Property managers in Whatcom County are reporting a sharp drop in leases from Canadian snowbirds, especially retirees. RV parks that once buzzed with long-term visitors? Now they're sitting half-empty, with unpaid electric hookups and empty lots. But here's where it really stings. This isn't just about struggling businesses, it's about entire communities feeling the pinch. Local officials say sales tax revenues have dropped so much, they've had to delay city maintenance projects. Tourism bureaus are scrambling, retargeting their marketing towards Seattle and Portland visitors. But let's be honest, those don't bring the steady, week-after-week support that Canadian travelers once delivered. The 2025 boycott hit Washington harder than anyone saw coming. And if that cross-border flow doesn't bounce back soon, Northern Washington towns won't just need new marketing plans, they'll need lifelines. Number 2. Hawaii. Hawaii's island charm isn't enough to dodge Canada's travel freeze. Shaved ice stands are closing early, and B&Bs are slashing prices, even in peak season. Why? Canadian tourists, Hawaii's second biggest international visitors, just aren't showing up. In early 2025 alone, spending from Canadians dropped over 10% in May. That's not just numbers, it's thousands of local businesses losing out. From moped rentals to zipline tours, the slowdown is real. Even local grocery stores are reporting big dips in weekly sales. But here's what stings more. Canadians don't just visit, they stay. They rent condos, shop local, and become part of the neighborhood. Now, those familiar faces are gone, and so are the dollars that kept laundromats, farmers markets, and mom-and-pop shops afloat. Hawaii's learning that when Canada steps back, the islands feel it, deeply. Number 1. Florida. Florida without Canadians? That's like beaches without sand. Snowbird rentals are sitting empty, dollar stores in Fort Lauderdale are overstocked, and even spring hotspots like Clearwater Beach felt off in 2025. Canada's quiet tourism boycott didn't just dent Florida's economy, it cracked it wide open. Over 3.3 million Canadians visited Florida in 2024, pumping billions into everything from pharmacies to beach chair rentals. But this year, one Quebec travel agency saw Florida bookings plunge 60% in just 2 months. And here's the real kicker: Canadians don't just visit, they move in for the season. They rent condos for months, stock up at local grocery stores, refill prescriptions, join gyms, and build routines. This year, that entire wave of spending? Gone. Cities like Naples, Sarasota, and the villages are scrambling. RV parks are cutting prices in half just to stay open. Local diners, barbers, and car washes say the drop is impossible to ignore. One waitress in Delray Beach put it best: "We used to serve the same 10 Canadians every morning at 8 a.m. This year? Not a single one." And it's not just beach towns. Even Orlando, packed with tourists, is seeing budget motels and shuttle services, especially those tied to Canadian deals, bleed cash. The worst part? Canadian loyalty used to be Florida's superpower. Predictable, long-term, dependable. But now, that pipeline's frozen solid. This isn't just about vacations, it's about local jobs, small-town survival, and the ripple effect no one's talking about.